Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Diminta semua hadirin bangun. Ketibaan kita punya VIP. Ketibaan yang bagi Datuk TS Dr. Haji Amiruddin bin Abdul Wahab, Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Cybersecurity Malaysia, Lieutenant Colonel Aiman Shah Muhammad Kafi, Komandan Pusat Latihan Peperangan Elektronik Angkatan Tentera Malaysia, Komandan Mazri bin Sayuddin, Ketua Sel Operasi Cawangan Perbincangan Cyber Strategi, Encik Aik Okey. Kita akan menyanyikan lagu Negaraku dan Malaysia Bersih.
Semua, moga kita berjaya bagai negara yang kekal merdeka.
Amanah bangsa kita pikul bersama, jadikan Malaysia bahagia.
Asal budaya kita budi pekerti indah, amanah jujur amalan kita.
Kini masanya sudah tiba untuk bina semula
negara tercinta.
Okey, dijemput saudara Syami untuk mengetahui bacaan doa. Dipersilakan.
Test mic. Al-Fatihah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين حمدا حامدين حمدا شاكرين حمدا صابرين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيده يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم وعظيم سلطانك اللهم افتح علينا فتوح العارفين وارزقنا فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإيمان المتقين اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن سهلا إذا شئت سهلا على كل حال وفي كل مكان وفي كل زمان وفي الدنيا والآخرة اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل اللهم فينا ولا معنا ولا من يتبعنا شقيا ولا محروما ولا مطرودا اللهم زدنا ولا تنقصنا واعطنا ولا تحرمنا وأكرمنا ولا تهنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا واعف عنا يا أرحم الراحمين. Ya Allah, jadikanlah pertemuan kami pada hari ini titik permulaan supaya kami rakyat Malaysia khususnya bersatu padu dalam mempertahankan cyber negara khususnya dan menjaga kita sendiri dengan sebaik-baik umumnya. Ya Allah, permudahkanlah dan lancarkanlah perjalanan daripada permulaan sehingga akhirnya RAWSEC Minicon 2020 pada hari ini. Kerana sesungguhnya kami yang menjalankan event ini sebagai organizer merupakan nisyan, yakni manusia yang ada kekurangannya. Ya Allah, jadikanlah RAWSEC Minicon 2020 pada tahun ini, pada hari ini juga menjadi satu titik pertemuan untuk komuniti keselamatan cyber sama ada individu, organisasi, syarikat, kerajaan, ketenteraan dan seluruhnya di seluruh negara lebih berkembang maju di masa yang mendatang. Bahkan juga satu titik pertemuan untuk pelbagai industri termasuk perguruan, pemberitaan, pembuatan, elektrik, perumahan dan lain-lain industri untuk bersama-sama dengan komuniti selaras dengan slogan RAWSEC iaitu daripada komuniti kepada komuniti. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaitana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adzaban nar. Wa adkhilnal jannata ma'al abrar ya aziz ya ghafar ya rabbal alamin. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barak wa sallam walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Amin amin ya rabbal alamin. Yang berbahagia Datuk TS Dr. Haji Amiruddin bin Abdul Wahab, Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Cybersecurity Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Lieutenant Colonel Irman Shah Muhammad Kafi, Komandan Pusat Latihan Peperangan Elektronik Angkatan Tentera Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Komander Mazri bin Sayuddin, Ketua Sel Operasi Cawangan Peperangan Cyber Strategi Tentera Laut Diraja Malaysia. Yang dihormati Cik Nur Aisyah Muhammad, Penolong Pengarah Kanan Agensi Keselamatan Cyber Negara, Majlis Keselamatan Negara. Yang berusaha Encik Muhammad Fazli Azran, Ketua Penganjur OWASP Malaysia Local Chapter. Izinkan saya, Ketua Nazmi, the co-founder of RAWSEC, menjadi pengacara majlis anda pada hari ini. Hadirin dan hadirin yang dirahmati, melayang serindit di atas pematang, merbah berkicau di hujung muara, pemanis kata selamat datang, awal bismillah bermuka bicara, melati kuntum tumbuh melata, sayang merbah di pohon cemara. Assalamualaikum mulanya kata, saya sembah pembuka bicara, mencari timba si anak dara, di bawah sarang burung tempua. Salam sembah pembuka bicara, selamat datang untuk semua. On behalf of RAWSEC Committee Volunteer, we welcome you to our humble Minicon 2020 today. For your information, this event is a continuation of our successful Minicon in 2018. It will not be as successful without the strong support from the community, as shown by this crowd today. We are expecting about 450 people today in this hall. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our supporting partners, especially our host today, Cybersecurity Malaysia, for giving us the first class hospitality to host the event here. Also thanks to Pusat Latihan Pertandingan Elektronik Angkatan Tentera Malaysia for the never-ending support for the beginning of this crazy idea of collaborating the community with Angkatan Tentera Malaysia. Last but not least, a big shout out to OWAX Malaysia chapter and the supreme leader, Encik Fazli Azran, for the platform to grow and bind the InfoSec community. Terima kasih daun keladi. Tahun depan kami merayu lagi. Diucapkan setinggi-tinggi penghargaan dan terima kasih berpanjangan kepada penaja-penaja RAWSEC Minicon pada tahun ini, iaitu DNS Vault, SIS Army, Blue Sci-Fi, NetSegate, NetByteSec, ESK Pentest, Fenry Solution, Tele Awan, Dead One Empire, Site Seka by Pernek dan juga NetAssist. Tanpa membuang masa, dijemput Lieutenant Colonel Erman Shah bin Muhammad Khafi, Komandan Pusat Latihan Pertandingan Elektronik Angkatan Tentera Malaysia untuk menyampaikan kata aluan beliau. Dipersilakan. Sini.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Distinguished guests, my fellow comrade from Malaysian Forces, RAWSEC Cybersecurity Community, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the RAWSEC Cybersecurity Community for this meaningful collaboration for our cyber community. On behalf of Malaysian Forces, Electronic Warfare Training Center, I would like to apologize for unable to host a venue for this conference due to overwhelming of participants, as you can see today. Ladies and gentlemen, as a silent participant in every meetup by RAWSEC for this conference, Malaysian Forces would like to share with you cyber spectrum in military perspective. Therefore, the theme of this conference, cyber warfare, cyber espionage, and ... is very near to us. Ladies and gentlemen, for this conference, Malaysian Forces would like to share cyber in military perspective, in strategic and operational level, including the classified presentation on cyber espionage, and also the use of military analytical methodology, which is intelligent preparation of battlefield in cyber security. Ladies and gentlemen, Abraham Lincoln pernah berkata, andai kita ingin melihat kekuatan seorang manusia itu, maka beri dia ilmu. This is the reason why both military and civilian come together in this conference for sharing the same frequency about cyber. So let's sit back, relax, and gain as much as knowledge in every presentation throughout this conference. With that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Erman Shah, for the very insightful speech. Now we'd like to call Brother Traizi, our brother in arms, co-founder of RAWSEC, to give his opening remark.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Terima kasih Tuan Pengurusi Majlis dan Dewan yang saya hormati. Assalamualaikum. Salam sejahtera buat semua rakan-rakan. Salam perpaduan RAWSEC. Assalamualaikum. Kemantapan kedaulatan sempadan maya, manifestasi usaha pengamal keselamatan siber negara. Bang Khalis Al-Kubra dalam bukunya Jawami'un Nujum wa Usul Harakati Samawiyah menyatakan bahawa sesungguhnya mereka yang menguasai maklumat akan menguasai umat. 1200 tahun lepas, perkataan ini telah bersipongan mesra dalam benak seorang pemikir. Maknanya mereka telah melihat kepentingan maklumat daripada benda-benda materi yang biasa, dari segi wang ringgit, emas, perak dan harta sebagainya. Dan ini telah terbukti pada dasawarsa ini bahawa maklumat telah memainkan peranan yang penting dalam memacu dan meneraju kehidupan di dunia ini. Dalam konteks senario di Malaysia, insiden-insiden serangan siber semasa telah semakin bersipongan mesra di benak dan telinga kita. Kita melihat seringkali di dada-dada akhbar insiden dan aktiviti-aktiviti yang melibatkan keselamatan siber telah mula berpanjangan dilaporkan oleh pihak MITA. Lama kelamaan, isu ini bukan menjadi masalah kecil. Ia sudah menjadi masalah yang melibatkan kedaulatan negara dari sudut maya. Lantas, tajuk yang saya bawakan pada hari ini, kedaulatan persempadanan maya negara ini adalah usaha manifestasi pengamal-pengamal keselamatan siber seperti anda semua. Jadi yang menjaga kedaulatan negara secara fizikalnya, seperti dalam Angkatan Tentera ataupun pihak polis, sama taraf dengan mereka yang menjaga keselamatan negara dari segi persempadanan maya. Mereka menjadi tulang dan teraju bagi Security Operation Center. Mereka yang melakukan threat vulnerability management. Mereka yang melakukan krisis operation dan juga surveillance. Mereka ini semua adalah tunjang keselamatan negara dari segi maya dan fizikal. Lantas, kita perlu memperlihatkan bukan 3 tahun lalu hanya atas perjumpaan kedai kopi. Dengan secangkir kopi, kita berbincang bagaimana untuk membina dan juga mengembangkan industri dan keilmuan cybersecurity di Malaysia. Pada tahun 2017, sebanyak 9 orang telah duduk di sebuah kedai kopi di Cyberjaya. Di Cyberjaya dan membicarakan hal ini untuk kali pertama. Kita telah berkembang secara dinamis pada monthly meetup yang agak ramai dalam 30 ke 40 orang, 50 orang, 70 orang dan terakhir sekali di Amanah Raya mencecah 100 orang. 100 lebih. Tahniah. Dan ini semua terima kasih atas para penyumbang lokasi, para penyumbang dana walaupun sedikit cuma. Ini semua moga menjadi balasan di hari muka nanti. Third meet up kita yang paling besar. Saya sebagai seorang Muslim, saya ingin mengaitkan perkara pertahanan dan kedaulatan negara ini dengan kata-kata daripada sebuah kitab kuning yang saya baru selak 2-3 minggu untuk mengkonfirmkan lagi. Dia kata qad dalal kitab wa sunnah as-sahihah ala anna ribatu fi sughur min jihad fi sabilillah. Dia kata sesungguhnya mempertahankan kedaulatan negara ni siang dan malam sebahagian daripada jihad. Dan sesungguhnya siapa yang 24 jam siang dan malam mempertahankan keselamatan negara ni, maknanya keselamatan negara ni, keselamatan siber maupun keselamatan fizikal, lebih baik tugas tu daripada puasa dan berqiyamul lail selama sebulan. Dan juga sungguhnya seorang yang mempertahankan keselamatan negara ini lebih baik daripada acaranya, adalah lebih baik daripada dunia dan isinya. Ini untuk memberikan motivasi pada kita semua. Hidup kita ni bukan sekadar materi, tapi juga mungkin jadi bekal sedikit. Sumbangan kita untuk memberikan kesedaran ini mungkin jadi bekal sedikit untuk kita di dunia yang sana. Saudara dan saudari sekalian,
Thank you, bro. Tadi. Okay. I would like to call on Commander Mazri, Head of Operations, Cyber Defense Operations Center, Malaysian Armed Forces, to give his keynote speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Chief Executive Officer Cybersecurity Malaysia, Dr. Haji Amuruddin Abdul Wahab, Founder of RAWSEC, Committee, the community, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum and very good morning. I'm delighted to join you this morning of the second RAWSEC Minicon 2020. I do thank you for the kind invitation. On behalf of the Malaysian Armed Forces, I convey best wish to all of you here. I would like to also congratulate to the RAWSEC community and the Malaysian Armed Forces Training Center for the successfully organizing the Minicon 2020 with the theme of the cyber warfare, sempena, ... Thank you. I believe this conference is a testament to the strong partnership within the cybersecurity ecosystem in Malaysia. It is also a testament to the passion of the many volunteers and the cybersecurity practitioners, you all, that are present this morning. This is amazing for us. Today, I have a couple of notes to chat and hope it can be some of the good takeaway for all of you. And gentlemen, the impact of the cyber threat today can be as damaging as conventional attacks. A single attack can inflict billions of dollars worth of damage to our economies, bring companies to stand still, paralyze our critical national information infrastructure, undermines our democracies, and have a crippling impact, including on military capabilities. Cyber threats are becoming more frequent, more complex, and more destructive. They can come from low-level attempts to a technological, sophisticated attack. They come from states and also from the non-state actors, from the close home and from very far away. They affect each and every one of us. Here, Malaysian Armed Forces, as the front line of the national defense, is also not immune. We register suspicious activities and events against our Malaysian Armed Forces cyber system every single day. And the cyber threats will become more dangerous with the development of the new technologies. Name it as artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and cloud computing, and many more. All these technologies are fundamentally changing the nature of the warfare. As much as the Industrial Revolution did, Malaysian Armed Forces is adapting to this new reality, and my keynote here, I have two major things to be shared. Please be patiently wait and let's see from the military perspective. First one is the roles of responsibility in the Malaysian Armed Forces towards the national cyber defense. Again, the Malaysian Armed Forces leaders have agreed that the cyber threats could trigger our responsibility towards a national defense. The Malaysian Armed Forces, a vital supporting role to the protecting the critical national information infrastructure from constant cyber attack by mitigating the risk. The Malaysian Armed Forces itself relies on the secure cyber communication and internet connectivity to ensure the freedom of action in our daily operation. The network center operations, or NCO, for example, in Malaysian Armed Forces, we require the immense utilizations of the cyber infrastructures for our data link. The cyber domains is a new sovereignty, need to be secured, need to be protected all the time, and we designed this as a cyberspace in a military domain. Everyone knows that the military, or the basic role of the military, is to provide a security to our citizens, and if not the citizen, we cannot protect ourselves. So this mass embracement of the information technologies has triggered the risk of the cyber attack. There is a greater need for the military to join hands in hands with all the stakeholders and the professionals to create awareness and provide secure cyberspace through the provision of resilient and robust capabilities. The major focus of these capabilities is to detect, to respond, to defend, and also to prevent all the attacks that can by any chance affect the military system and networks that in turn may have adverse effect on the military operation. The essential roles of the military in relation to the cybersecurity, therefore, to offer the protection to the communication and the information system. There is more need to advance on the resilience by the capabilities due to the increasing rise in the interconnectedness. The Malaysian Armed Forces itself, through the Cyber Defense Operations Center, or well known as the CDOC, is a strategic partner with the National Cybersecurity Agency, with the National Cyber Coordination and Command Center, and also with the Cybersecurity Malaysia. We plays a vital role to protecting the CNII, including to respond, communications, and coordination in the event of the national cyber crisis. Historically, the Malaysian Armed Forces, or the Ministry of Defense, way back in 1895, has produced of total defense. This total defense, or in the other term, we call it a pertahanan menyeluruh, in short, HANRO. So what is a HANRO all about? This is the third national strategy, way back in 1985, national defense policy that introduced the strategy in order to defend the interests of the country. It also defined as a concept of the active defense, not only for military, but for non-military and its citizen. And again, in 2010, Malaysian Armed Forces also reinforced the new strategy by looking at the new dimension, which is cyberspace had embarked on the 4 dimensions of Malaysian Armed Forces, or 4D MAF transformation program. This 4D MAF has a mainly aim developing cyberspace security through a number of transformation implementations up to 2020. And recently in 2019, MINDEF again, through Malaysian Armed Forces, has produced the Defense White Paper, or DWP, in the visions to Malaysia, to achieve Malaysia is a secure, sovereign and prosperous nation. This DWP details Malaysia's plan to develop our armed forces into a joint force for future comprising of 5 main components and characteristics, which are the jointness, interoperability, technological base, and able to operate simultaneously in 2 theaters, and last one is the mission oriented. Cognizant with this reality, the Malaysian Armed Forces recognize the cyber electromagnetic as the new operational domain. The domain provides critical capabilities that enables the Malaysian Armed Forces to conduct operation safely across all other domains. Hence, the Malaysian Armed Forces is planning to establish the Cyber Electromagnetic Command, or CEC, to better handle this new frontier. The new CEC will cover the following operation. The first one is to enhance the existing cyber operation, which includes the activity like defensive cyberspace operation, active defense, and development of the cyber expertise. The second one, to enhance the electronic warfare capabilities, which includes all the activities like to control the electromagnetic spectrum, to counter electromagnetic attack, and electronic protection and electronic warfare support. The last one, to enhance our spectrum management, which comprise of planning, coordinate, and manage the use of electromagnetic spectrum through operational, engineering, and administrative procedure to deconflict all the system. Ladies and gentlemen, the second part I would like to touch about the dimension of the modern warfare. Again, the cyber threat are the big deal. Cyber threats come in many broad categories based on intent. But for this time, as agreed on the Minicon team, there are cyber warfare, cyber espionage, and many more. We can just need one after another. There might be the range of the cyber crimes, might be a cyber intelligence that have the same weightage as a cyber espionage. But remember, there is another part like a cyber terrorism. Please don't forget about this. But in this keynote, I would like to share another part that a biggest concern above all this. That is the dimension of the warfare. I would like to share the biggest concerns because we need to understand where does the cyber threats can reside or can come from the different angle. What I wanted to share again over here is how we can understand the war as a whole in the modern dimension. Warfare can be synchronized by the employment of the information-related capabilities like a cyber tactic, tools, and the procedures, or TTP. This is all to gain all the advantage over an enemy in the warfare environment. This advantage contributes to achieving the commander's intent, executing the concept of operation by countering and ultimately defeating the enemy's ability to operate in the environment. At the same time, protecting and preserving a friendly freedom of action in the operationalized environment to gain and maintain position and advantage is also important. The modern warfare environment is made up of three interrelated dimensions. The first one, physical, informational, and the cognitive. I will touch a little bit one by one about this thing. The first one is the physical dimension. This physical dimension is composed of the command and control, or C2 system, and supporting all the related infrastructure. This enables individuals and organizations to conduct operations across the air, land, sea, and the space. It is also the dimension where the physical platform and the communication network that connect all of them reside. The physical dimensions include, but not limited to the human being, but also command and control, the facilities, computer processing units, all the laptop, smartphone, computer tower, and tablets computer, and any other objects that subject to the empirical measurement. The second one is the informational dimension. As we know, and highlighted by my brother Izzy just now, we know that the information has long been as an integral part of the human computation. Those with a superior ability to gather, to understand, to control, and use also the information have a substantial age. The informational dimension is where the information is collected, where it is processed, stored, disseminated, displayed, and protected. It is a dimension where the C2 of the military forces or the public internet are exercised and intend to be conveyed. Action in this dimension affect the content and the flow of the information. The last one is about the cognitive dimension. This connective dimension encompasses the mind of the decision makers and the target audience. This is the dimension in which how people think, how people perceive, how people visualize, and how they decide. It refers to the individuals or any groups, information processing, perception, judgment, and also the decision making. All these elements are influenced by any factors to include individuals such as a cultural belief, norms, vulnerabilities, their motivation, their emotions, their experience, moral, educations, mental health, identities, and also ideologies. Defining this influencing factor in a given environment is critical for understanding how to best influence the minds of the decision makers and create the desired effect. As such, this dimension constitutes one of the most important components of warfare environment. Now, with the lineup of the great prominent speaker today and the very interesting topic in this conference, I left to the audience to think on what, where, who, and how any of the cyber operation can be exercised to create a threat or attack. What is real, however, is the intent of the enemy as well as the potential impact. Ladies and gentlemen, as a conclusion, we know that the cyber threats are never static. There are millions being created every year. It can be a scary time for the organizations and for the nation and also for the citizens worried about these cyber threats. The threats certainly exist and they are getting increasingly potent and frequent. The attackers are varied with many worrisome imbalance between the attackers and their target, but don't be afraid. Even if organizations or nation targeted by a powerful nation-state actor, it is still a room and possible to protect our digital asset. It takes a good planning and commitment of all the resources that we have in our hands, a good security operation team, and also the proactive individual like everyone here that can stay on top of most if the serious cyber threat happen. Believe me that the digital technologies will continue to transform our economy, our societies, and also our daily life. All of us in cybersecurity practitioner, no matter what, from different background, name it, from the governments, from the financial educations, military, or even from the private businesses, we have a part to play to synergize and strengthen our collective cyber defense to build a secure, resilient, and rule-based cyberspace. Malaysian Armed Forces again has been progressively making steps to have a deeper understanding of what challenges of the cyber defense, and this has led to the better integration of our operational planning. We can say that the general purpose of the bigger agenda of cybersecurity and technology used by the military is to mitigate the possible risk. It's therefore mandatory for my colleague from the military here to fully incorporate and embrace the cyber defense aspect with our strategic partnership. Conference like this can play a useful role. I am heartened that the RAWSEC has continued to grow both in depth and reach. It provides us with a good platform to exchange the best practices and strengthen our network and friendship. Thank you for your strong support for the RAWSEC Minicon 2020. Let's work towards securing our common cyber future together. Again, thank you very much and all the best with the conference. Thank you.
Terima kasih Komander Mazri di atas ucap pertama yang diberikan sebentar tadi. Diminta Komander Mazri kekal di atas pentas untuk menerima token daripada kami. Diminta Encik Tarizi untuk naik atas. Komander duduk situ. Diminta Lieutenant Colonel Ahmad untuk naik ke pentas menerima topik kami. Diminta Dato' Amir untuk naik ke pentas untuk menerima token daripada kami. Dan juga diminta penceramah-penceramah jemputan untuk naik sekali di atas pentas untuk acara bergambar. Kamal. Encik Kamal. Kamal. Mana? Mr. Barry. Kamal. Ha? Kamal. Tak apalah. Terima kasih. Decided to open up ticket from 250 to 300, and people our phone line, like, it's a hunting line for us. People keep on calling us. Do you have any open tickets yet? Do you have any other tickets? We were unable to answer because due to a limitation of space. Boleh start, okay. Now we have about 450 people in this hall. Thank you very much for supporting RAWSEC. Okay, without further ado, we're going to start again our second session of today. Okay, we're going to continue our event. I would like to call upon the first speaker today, AG Nazrul Hisham Muhammad Noor, Assistant Governor of Bank Negara Malaysia, to present his topic, Financial Sector Readiness to Cybersecurity Challenges as part of National Total Defence. Useful military perspective can be adopted for industry cyber defence.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Amiruddin Abdul Wahab, CEO Cybersecurity Malaysia. Tuan-tuan, puan-puan, saudara-saudari sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera di pagi Sabtu hari ini. Saya amat teruja sebentar tadi dengan penyampaian saudara Tarizi. Saudara Tarizi ini adalah salah seorang daripada ahli pasukan security cyber di BNM, Bank Negara. Seorang ethical hacker dan red teamer, sangat cemerlang dalam pelbagai aspek dan memang ternyata dia adalah tokoh yang seimbang dari aspek dunia dan akhirat. Saya juga ingin mengucapkan tinggi-tinggi tahniah kepada semua pendukung dan komiti RAWSEC atas kejayaannya sebagai penggembling tidak rasmi bagi profesion security cyber kita ini, serta pencapaiannya setakat ini walaupun masih baru dirasmikan dan diperjalankan aktivitinya. Dengan izin, saya ingin menyampaikan kandungan saya yang seterusnya dalam bahasa Inggeris. Firstly, I would like to thank RAWSEC again for inviting me to speak today at this minicon. My first time here at Menara Cyber Access. Wouldn't you all agree that this is an exciting time and an exciting theme for us? Cyber warfare, cyber espionage, and everything else. So that alone must have played a role in attracting a number of you to come here on this fine Saturday morning. I'm also privileged to be in the same event as our fighting men and women in the armed forces who are specialists in this new warfare domain. I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate the Malaysian Armed Forces for recognizing the criticality of the cyber warfare domain in establishing a new and dedicated command for cyber electronic warfare. It truly demonstrates the focus and attention that our Ministry of Defence and our armed forces put into the dominance of the domain. If you look at my title, you will probably agree that it is way too long for Saturday morning. So forgive me, I have to play a little bit of bait and switch strategy here. I've decided to shorten and somewhat reorientate my presentation today to a shorter topic, namely what you see on the screen right now, which is military principles in cyber defense of the Malaysian financial sector. If you look at my original title, it also talks about readiness of the financial sector. Let me just be frank. We are nowhere near being fully ready for the challenges ahead. There are many things that as a sector, the financial industry need to do. Nevertheless, as President Roosevelt once quoted in the midst of World War II, he said, do what you can, what you have, where you are. And I think this quote is powerful for us in the cybersecurity community because so often we get hung up in the fact that we're not perfect, we don't have the tools, the skill set, the resources, the budget especially, to do what we really need to do to defend and secure our respective domain. So whatever your role is here and back in your office as a defender, red teamer, malware analyst, you all have the power to make cybersecurity better in your area of responsibility. So don't get discouraged if you're not perfect and you do not have the perfect toolkits or enough resources. Otherwise, we wouldn't all be here learning about it. So do what you can with what you have, where you are. Next, please. Okay, just a quick scanning. Now we don't just worry about cyber viruses, we also worry about real viruses, right? COVID-19. I'm glad to say about an hour ago, I used my infrared scanner on my phone and scanned all of you. It doesn't look like any of you has a fever, so you're all within normal temperature range. So I think in the military this is called situational awareness. This is something that I will elaborate later. So not to worry, I know some of you wear face masks, but it doesn't look like any one of us are suffering from fever at this point. Okay. Okay. A little bit of introduction could be useful here. This is my Who Am I page. I am, as they call it in Bank Negara, a lifer. So I am a lifelong employee of, as I put it in my Facebook page, possibly the best employer in town this side of the Milky Way. I am into the 24th year of with my organization, 29th if you count my education, A-levels and university education that was under Bank Negara Scholarship. So I cut teeth in the bank being a foreign exchange trader in Bank Negara, conducting foreign exchange intervention, basically doing battle, but with another set of adversaries against speculators in the global financial market, defending the value of the ringgit during the Asian financial crisis in the late 90s. Since then, I've done investment management, money market operations, international relations, strategic negotiation, corporate strategy, communication, and recently IT, cybersecurity, and the finance operations of the bank. I got entangled in the military during my A-levels and university days in the UK. During my A-level days, the British boarding school, I joined what is called the Combined Cadet Force, or CCF. Some of you who graduated from the UK will probably be familiar with that. Over there in the UK, unlike in Malaysia, there's no separate cadet program for the Army, Navy, or Air Force. It's all a joint in the CCF. And military life only branches out to the respective services in university. And when I joined, when I was in university, I joined the University Officer Training Corps of the British Army, or the UOT, which is similar to the Row 2 unit that some of you probably joined in local university. They're basically a military leadership training program that prepare you for the possible career option of being a junior officer in the Army Reserve in the UK. The difference here is that there is a closer integration with the military training that Row 2 or even ROTC has in the US. I'm not sure about now, but during my time, you could volunteer and qualify to train, often with military regulars, in a range of trades during your vacation time. So unlike most of my colleagues who chose to spend their vacation time interrailing in Europe, I took the opportunity to train first as a combat lifesaver, and secondly in the trade of electronic warfare, specializing in signals intelligence, or SIGINT. So I concentrated on signals intelligence. That's primarily about detecting, classifying, and where necessary, disrupt enemy use of the radio spectrum. So that's like radio and radar. So that gave me my first exposure into what was called in the military then the fifth domain. That's after the first four, which is land, sea, air, and space. Many years later, now when I got involved in cybersecurity, I found that many of the concepts are very similar, and the terminologies are virtually identical. I can understand and appreciate why our armed forces combine cyber and electromagnetic domains together in the same command. There are certainly a great deal of commonality, synergies between electronic warfare and cyber warfare. So now fifth domain is generally seen as warfare conducted in cyberspace. So I should also mention that I did an industrial internship with GEC Marconi. GEC Marconi has disappeared now. It has been absorbed into parts of British Aerospace and Leonardo in Italy. At the time, it was a big company, part of the British military industrial complex. I worked on digital signal processing for the fire control radar of a British-made surface-to-air missile, which is the Seawolf missile system. A more advanced version of the Seawolf system is actually used by our military, specifically the Royal Malaysian Navy, on our Navy ships, Jebat and Lekiu. Although I hope that our government will eventually fund their replacement, because from my work then I know that we probably reached the end of life of that system. So let us move on. Let me move on to this quotation that will be useful to when talking about cyber defense. If you want peace, prepare for war. So if you've read the defense white paper, you will find somewhere in there the same exact quotation. So by the way, look at the watermark that outlines the fast track part of that watermark on the bottom left hand side. Signal for me to fast track certain slides in my slide deck for presentation efficiency, because we really have only 30 minutes to go through this session, and I probably wasted the first 10. So I hope you can understand why I will need to breeze through some of my slides later. Let us move on. Let me try to phrase what we aim to achieve in this next 20 minutes in terms of 4 key questions. Why is cybersecurity like waging war? And number 2, what is so special about financial services? What military principles are applicable from a civil perspective? And number 4, what does the future hold in terms of what we do? Okay, let's go into this concept of total defense or pertahanan menyeluruh. As our colleague before has outlined, this is so to summarize, this is about the responsibility of everyone to the defense of our nation. Not just the military, but also government agencies, the private sector, and all of you, members of the public. Let me put this into a perspective of military theory. Colonel John Warden, who is a part of the US Air Force, came up with this 5 rings theory that models the 5 centers of gravity of a nation centered around its leadership. If you have an enemy of the state intending to destroy or conquer us, they will need to conduct military operations starting outwards from the outer layer, which is fielded forces, that will be the military, and in some instances, defense. Then going inwards to the population, infrastructure, and system essentials, gradually peeling off all the layers until the core is exposed, left vulnerable, and captured. So once leadership is captured, then the country falls. So how is this related to financial services? Financial services straddle both the infrastructure and the essential services ring, the last 2 before the leadership. The system essentials here include financial services, which are the sectors that support and drive the nation, such as the economy and the financial system. If you look at the infrastructure layer, top physical infrastructure like roads, bridges, line, financial infrastructure is like our bank branches, our large value payment networks like SWIFT and TAS, and ATM machines, which constitute another degree of support to the economy. This is something that the adversary will target. Of course, when John conceptualized all this, he had in mind what the military calls kinetic effects, or in our plain language, things that go boom. Specifically, the application of power, air power. However, we are in the 21st century, and that has brought a new reality that an adversary can actually use cyberspace through cyber attack to attack the same centers of gravity and achieve the same military objectives without even using a single bullet or even a gram of explosives. And this is where Negara, as the sectoral lead of financial services, has a role to play to ensure that financial services is not the softest target around. This is where we play the role to strengthen the cyber defense of the financial services sector under the concept of HANRO. And this is where there is also a strong need to collaborate closely with the likes of NEXA and the National Security Council, as well as related entities like Cybersecurity Malaysia, MCMC, MDAC, all other FIs, to build our collective resilience and strengthen our cyber defense through defense in depth, to ensure that the survivability of a nation in times of war or cyber war, however unlikely the possibility that may be. Okay, if we move on to the next slide, what is so special about financial services? Financial institutions in Malaysia and elsewhere are unique because they are interconnected, because they borrow and lend from each other. They have some commonality in terms of their customer base, their sources of capital. So the failure of even one single institution can have a cascade effect where disruption in one can spread to others. So systemically important institutions, which are typically large and important, are interconnected enough. If they fail, they can actually destabilize the entire financial system. That is the reason why the sectoral lead in financial services like Bank Negara have a big role and a heavy responsibility to create an environment where this does not happen. To a number of you who has regularly attended RAWSEC meetups before, especially the last 2 sessions, you will recall several sessions where my colleagues elaborated about a recent rollout of a new regulatory standard for IT for banks called RMIT, or Risk Management in Information Technology. It is precisely for this reason, because of the interconnectedness of financial institutions, that we ask financial institutions to strengthen themselves in IT, including their cybersecurity, through supervisory and regulatory expectations and high standards to avoid a situation of where the failure of one, say through a major cyber incident, brings down the entire system. Okay, let's look at, let's try to understand what are the motivations and objectives of potential adversaries in cyberspace that targets the Malaysian financial system. In general, there are 3 motivations. Firstly is financial gain through theft or fraudulent transactions. And if you think that only cyber criminals are motivated by this, actually our experience suggests that even state actors are motivated by this. There's some countries out there which may lack access to foreign currency, by way of sanctions or restrictions on trade. And this is one way that they can actually get hard currencies for whatever that they need to fund other cyber operations later, or even to fund imports into their country. We have seen possible state-backed acts motivated by this, and this is something that we always take a look and be very careful about. Secondly, the objective is also to obtain information, often very sensitive or classified information. So this information can be monetized, or they can be used to disrupt or even embarrass. Thirdly, we've seen hacktivists, which themselves could be acting on behalf of interest groups that are ideological in nature. They can be state-backed as well, and whose primary objectives are to disrupt. This can be in the form of denial of services or simple acts of website defacement. Let us ask the question, how and through what means are financial institutions typically targeted by cyber adversaries? First of all, can I ask people who are involved in the cybersecurity of financial institutions, if you are in this group, raise your hands. I heard there are red teamers from Maybank here, right? So there's one group over there. So they're probably the one that is most interested in this content. There are four ways, or four channels that we need to take a look at in terms of cybersecurity. Firstly, through consumer services and mobile apps. They offer personal financial management that are likely targets for credential theft. Cyber adversaries and criminals consider such third-party apps a target of opportunity, especially if they have a large store of credentials and active defenses. Second, existing commodity infections such as bots can provide threat actors with a way to gain into networks of financial institutions. So cyber criminals have been seen installing custom malware and conduct anti-forensic operations to cover their tracks, moving laterally in the network and steal financial data. The next two channels are probably a little bit more interesting. We also found that adversaries are more politically motivated will look at banks' involvement in geopolitical controversies. This may result in increased threat activity seeking to call attention to the issues and embarrass targeted organizations. Hackers may also target the sector to protest an unrelated issue with the view that the sector is highly visible. So during the recent anti-government protests in Hong Kong, hacktivists have been known to hack and target certain banks in Hong Kong that were seen or more likely suspected of being close and friendly with the Chinese government. Lastly, adversaries are motivated by an increased tension between countries, especially countries involved in diplomatic spats and border disputes. This may associate APT groups to those countries to conduct disruptive or destructive attacks aimed at providing their government with leverage over its adversary. So in the unlikely event that we're involved with a conflict, say on territory in the South China Sea, for example, that's a sign that we should be elevated in terms of our alert and safeguard our financial institutions against APT groups who are part of the adversary on the other side. Some quick stats. This is a recent estimate of the damages and losses imposed by cyber adversaries to financial institutions. $97 billion. That's a big amount of money. That's about almost the size of the country's international reserves. We have slightly more than that, of course. It's a simple number, but it outlines how much damage annually in the last 3 years that financial institutions globally suffer from cyber incidents. If you look at the point of view of information loss, globally in the first 6 months of 2019, 4.1 billion customer records have been breached. Closer to home, in 2018, financial institutions reported 242 cases of data breaches. Time is something that we probably need to increasingly take a look at, because cybersecurity now is not just focused in terms of identifying, protecting, and defending. It's also about responding and recovering. So this is how long a typical cyber adversary managed to penetrate their targets, whether corporate or government, undetected. In 2018, it was 184 days. So that means on average, a bad actor will penetrate and roam through your networks undetected, doing possible damage for 6 months. Numbers for Asia is even more grim, at 204 days. So that explains why there's that importance to safeguard and defend our financial system. Let's look at the applicability of military principles to cyber defense of our financial industry. So from my limited experience, there are many principles that are applicable to cyber defense. However, we only have time for maybe 9. I would go through in detail perhaps 5. If we have time, we can dwell into them more after in the Q&A. Now, for the first one, let us start by establishing that the military is a very mission-focused organization. Give it a mission, whether Army, Navy, or Air Force, and they will do everything in their ability to complete that mission. So it's no surprise that one of the key principles of war is that all operations must be directed towards a well-defined, decisive, and attainable objectives. How is that achieved? 2 quick routes. First, cyber defense needs to be governed by clear and complete policy and guidelines that are implementable and developed together with senior leadership so that there's buy-in. So that means you have to go all the way up to your CEO to get the buy-in of whatever policies that you have. Your board, for example, for corporate institutions, board is the primary governance process, right? Your board must play a role. Boards are expected to have at least one member who are relatively IT literate and generally responsible for IT and cybersecurity risk in the organization. Second, SOPs, standard operating procedures. They need to be institutionalized, almost like muscle memory, so that clear action paths are available and you can execute them in terms of contingencies. Okay. So the end objective of cybersecurity in financial industry is basically digital trust, right? So what is digital trust? It's the level of confidence that your stakeholders and your consumers and employees have into the organization's ability to protect secure data as well as the privacy of individuals. That is the end objective of all cybersecurity operations. If you ask the question, how to prioritize the things that you do, the investment of tools that you have, then you need to ask the question, how is that related to and contribute towards digital trust? Let us move on. A second principle of war is about seizing, retaining, and exploiting the initiative. This can be done by equipping your cybersecurity team with the right force structure. And this is a struggle for us. In most organizations, cybersecurity is something new. It's likely to be under strength and may not have what the military calls the right force structure, which is the size and disposition of expertise. So in our case, specific to our organization, what we do, we use NIST recommendations as a guide to determine what is the best size and disposition of expertise of what we need in terms of our cybersecurity team. We need to equip them with the right tools, the right skill sets, and robust processes. They need to do, once established, proactive research on new threats and adversaries, TTP, sorry, that's the tactics, techniques, and procedures. I will elaborate later on one possible credible effective source of this research. We also need to simulate estate vulnerability through pen testing, for example, in selected scenarios. For example, let's look back in 2017 how Equifax was breached to validate our resilience, so testing our shields effectively. And this is a new area called security instrumentation. That would take 30 minutes to explain, so I would encourage you to Google that phrase, security instrumentation. We also need to drill regularly against expected new threats, especially through scenario injects in red teaming exercises. Okay. Third principle is looking at concentrating resources at the right time and at the decisive time place. So even the largest and best equipped military cannot be strong everywhere. Same goes for your cybersecurity force. Positioning and concentrating your available force where it is most needed is essential to victory. Many things we can do to achieve this, but there are 5 that I've listed here. Number 1, focus your team on tasks related to protection of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That's the CIA role. They should not be involved in things like password reset, support, and maintenance of systems, including their own. So that needs to be segregated and separated into a security administration role that broader IT probably needs to take care of. Third, we need to identify and prioritize organizational assets, assign resources accordingly. Fourth, this is something new. This is something that I think civilians are not particularly used to. If you're in the military, I have a friend in the audience the lieutenant in the Royal Malaysian Navy. He can cotton on to this concept perfectly. So use theatre posture to scale up or down your vigilance and resource use. So have you heard of DEFCON 1, DEFCON 2, DEFCON 3? Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. And lastly, you need to triage to conserve resources. You need to focus on the largest threats. Here's an example of tiering. So this is an excerpt of how Bank Negara's crisis response is planned. Of course, I cannot give you details on the right-hand side. That's proprietary to Bank Negara. But generally what we do is we link it to the national authorities' alert levels. So if you look at Majlis Keselamatan Negara, they have 5 levels of alert, from insignificant to critical. If you look at NEXA's website, I think the first top-hand thing you see is the current alert level nationally of cybersecurity. So we need to apportion resources effectively, something that the military terms as economy of force, to scale our resource use and intensity of effort and attention towards levels. If you're in the military, if you're in the Navy in particular, something called ship material condition is something that we can take as an example. So when threats are near, you're about to be attacked, but up, all hatches, levels are high, all positions are manned. But if you're not under threat of attack, you can loosen up a bit, give critical resources some time to relax, to recover. So there is a trade-off between efficiency and security. As an organization, we can be incredibly secure through multiple safeguards and restrictive rules, but chances are little work can be done at the highest alert posture. Being on elevated alert posture for an extended period can also be very exhausting to your personnel and expensive in terms of resources. So the trick here is to escalate and de-escalate your alert postures based on prevailing security conditions. Like I said, linking with announced alert postures of higher authority can be both NEXA and MKN, the National Security Council, regularly updates the public on the threat based on intelligence and information available. Some of this information are not available to corporate institutions. So unless your organization faces specific threats, this could be a useful anchor. As the level of assessed risks and threats increase, organizations progressively create security, ramp up security managements and safeguards. A colleague of mine in the US Department of Defense actually shared this. This is a unclassified information on their website. So the US military has 5 levels of alert, from Infocon normal to Infocon Delta. And what they do is they have triggers for escalation. If you look at selective criteria, not all criteria are listed. It's very detailed on the website. You can read it yourself. This one will probably take 3 pages to explain. So I've only put in some highlights. If there's no significant activity, for example, you can loosen up, but your cybersecurity education should still continue. Your hygiene aspects should still be addressed. But as threats and warning, indications and warning of threats progressively increase, you want to tighten up. And this is where their recommended actions in terms of what needs to be done gradually becomes increasingly intense. If you look at the highest level, Infocon Delta, they even plan to designate alternate information systems and disseminate communication procedures through alternate means. And they can run networks on a standalone basis. Non-critical systems can be disconnected. So this is something that we can take a look at and apply in order to conserve resources in our respective institution. Okay. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to go into maybe 2 more concepts. Let's look at the concept of intelligence. I think the other speakers that you're going to have after this will, of course, go through the military angle of intelligence. In the civil sector, increasingly people are realizing the value of cyber threat intelligence. What does intelligence really mean? There are many definitions I put there, but if you look at the military service training handbook that I've accepted, the intent, capabilities, and objectives of your adversaries constitute probably one of the most valuable information that you can get from threat intelligence, and this is used to plan and execute your response, security resources deployment. So which leads to the fourth principle, employ threat intelligence to plan and execute defenses. So this is a maxim of war for the role of intelligence to guide and execution of cyber defenses. There are three types of intelligence. At the strategic level, that's more for senior management. At the operational level, that's at making day-to-day decisions and required for planning, which includes, for example, feeds that you can inject into your SOC. And the tactical intelligence, which is focused on units in need of instantaneous information and required for planning and conducting tactical operations like threat hunting. If you look at the table on the right, it outlines what the intelligence needs of a CISO it has in terms of risk prioritization, assessment of any new cybersecurity initiatives, planning and budgeting, and crafting messages for corporate communications. So a little bit, you probably need to have a binocular to read that, but I suppose we can give soft copies later so you can read it. Now, changing how organizations deal with cybersecurity to be intelligence-led instead of compliance-based is a big change in the financial industry. Now, this is still a work in progress, and different organizations approach this differently. Okay, this outlines what effectively continuous process about risk to the organization. That's what intelligence is. I want to focus on the fifth part in terms of dissemination. A lot of organizations struggle with. In the right format, to the right hands, at the right medium. I think we don't have a boilerplate answer on how to do this best. Really learn and adapt in terms of what you need to tell your senior management or those who are making decisions in terms of your resources, in terms of how to use intelligence. Let us move on. This is an idea of how we do it in Bank Negara. It's a four-step process between detection, intelligence, validation, and assessment. But generally, what we do is we use it to provide a threat intelligence report and a test plan for our own internal red and blue team security testing. And this guides the organization in terms of prioritizing cyber defense in terms of capabilities and resources. Okay, this is a maxim. You need to have unity of effort under a clear chain of command. So you need to have a defined authorization level. Taking chain is well defined with clear authority for escalation. Where you have a CISO, you probably want to appoint him to be the commander in terms of incident. Or if you have any designated leaders, for example, if you have a board member that is designated to be primarily responsible for IT and cybersecurity. So for example, in our organization, we have one board member who apparently did computer science in the 70s. It's a different era altogether. You're talking about punch cards, but he has kept himself up to date, and he is the chair of our board risk committee, and he is primarily responsible. And we have a close link with him. We update him regularly in terms of what we need to do in terms of our planning and resource management. Okay, this is a phrase that if you're the military, it's of situational awareness. To summarize, it is about knowing exactly what is going on so that you can figure out what to do next. It involves perception, processing, predicting, and action. And if you look at the quote I put there, Dr. Micah Ansley, which is chief scientist of the US Air Force, would you believe it? An armed forces branch actually has a post for chief scientist. So they are as scientifically focused as they are military focused. So it's the perception of the elements in your environment, the volume of time and space, and the comprehension of their meaning and projection of their status in the near future. How do we achieve situational awareness? There's something called the fog of war. I think if you're in the military, you understand what that is. Fog of war is about uncertainty, it's about not knowing. Right? And you need to address this by deploying as wide a possible a sensor network, like your SIEM, security agents, and networks. You need to achieve sensor and data fusion and positive control, including incident response to SOC. You need to also deploy behavioral, digital forensics, and threat hunting if possible. And something I would like to stress from our own experience in dealing with advanced threats, the track while scan threats. Track while scan is a term that radar operators use. So that tells you basically if you're tracking one issue, you should not be too laser focused that you lose peripheral vision. You need to have enough capacity in your security team such that when there's a cyber incident, let's say there's a ransomware attack, you have other security personnel that's not so dedicated into that issue that can still scan into other. Because our experience suggests that an advanced persistent threat, especially someone that is state-sponsored, will have diversionary tactics. And in the last major cyber breach incident that we have, you probably heard in 2018, we actually stopped an advanced threat from sending fraudulent Swift messages. We had a ransomware attack happening simultaneously. We had a credential theft happening simultaneously as well. So this is very important, and I think this is one of the key lessons from that incident. You need to have the ability to track one. That means you don't lose peripheral vision. You have other people still scanning your environment, looking for other threats. Even the core part of your team is addressing what is the most apparent threat at the moment. A SOC is something that we would like to encourage all organizations to have. It's a necessary for situational awareness because you need to correlate and fuse data from multiple sources to enable decision making. If you look at the framework of identify, protect, defend, record, respond, and recover, the respond and recover part needs a centralized evaluation and decision process and typically by SOC. I mean, not all organizations have big enough operations to warrant a SOC. Some of you manage services, but if you're big enough, this is something that you need to have as a form of command and control to maximize situational awareness. I don't have enough time to go through everything, but let me just talk a bit about cyber kill chain. They all say that it's an unbalanced situation, right? Because you need to perform well all the time, whereas the threat actors need to perform well one time in order to breach your organization. But if you look at cyber kill chain, basically, any need to fulfill 7 different processes before they can actually be successful. They have to steal your data, get financial information, or steal financial value from the system, or even disrupt your operations. So you have opportunities to disrupt them, and you should look at your defense in terms of your arrangements, your capabilities in terms of based on the cyber kill chain. But there's something new that I would like to highlight. It's probably not new to some of you. You need to combine cyber kill chain awareness tech framework, which is a knowledge repository for adversary TTPs in order to understand them before you can defeat them. And this is open source. Metro Corporation is a non-profit organization. They have a lot of data in terms of real-world behaviors that has been observed before. A different chain of process, from initial access all the way to exfiltrating data and impact. So this is something that cybersecurity professionals are increasingly looking into. Again, I repeat, this is free and open. So if you're a student, you can even access it from the website. Let me just go back to that website, that attackmitra.org. I feel like I'm an evangelist for Mitra Corporation, but because it does provide value, that's why I think it's important. Okay, because I don't have enough time, I'm going to skip this. One particular is to trade fight. This is about red teaming. Gun is probably the most form of red teaming in the world. That's the Navy Fighter Weapons School at Miramar. So basically, you need to have your Top Gun to identify gaps in your defense and take the opportunity to explore and assess how to address them. So this is the role of what we call dissimilar adversary based. Dissimilar means your red team must think differently and conduct operations in a way that your adversary is anticipated to think and act. So they need to study the TTPs of your enemies, your adversaries, and act like them. Okay, this is another concept, force multiplier, which increases effectiveness of a system. just going to cruise through. Negara is partnering with financial institutions to establish something called a financial threat intelligence platform. And, this is good for us in terms of surveying the environment as well as allowing FIs to share information with each other. So if there's a ransomware attacking one Malaysian organization, the IOCs and the countermeasures can be immediately distributed so that is the inability to attack others after that will be fostered. There are 4 dimensions of strategic partnership to achieve that force multiplier. I'm not going to go through them until you can read them. But what I wanted to go through straight is, firstly this. We have made a lot of progress in terms of the critical aspects of cybersecurity. So from full privilege access, a lot of organizations have moved to least privilege. From optional encryption, default encryption is something that's prevalent now. From weak passwords, there's now a lot of enforcement on multi-factor authentication. From a technical focus, we now engage the board in terms of cybersecurity. From compliance-driven, we are now intelligence-driven. What is the future? Can we counter-attack something that's boggling a lot of people's minds recently? But our conclusion is we can't, because there's uncertainty in terms of the source of attack. Villain networks are frequently used, and we don't want to create a diplomatic incident by accidentally attacking. Because the point of origin could be just a botnet. Cyber operators have known to also mimic TTPs of others, like operations. That means they pretend to be, I don't know, a North Korean operator when in fact they're someone else. So engagement with civilians are more restrained than the military. We want to prevent those implications. However, takedowns are normal. And this is something that we normally do through NICs and domain registrars. Okay. Lastly, to close, what does the future hold? 3 things that we saw as a big trend. There's a lot of use of artificial intelligence, in summary, to allow a team to do the work of security orchestration so that you can respond fast and encourage you to practice your skills against known threats. And then there's security from the cloud, which is capabilities delivered from the cloud. The interesting also point you is the increasing use of deception. Deploy this decoy system with desired fake data in order to protect and defend your estate. So there are 3 levels of honeypot activity, but the one that we thought was most interesting is the low interaction honeypots. We have automation to simulate frequently requested services attackers. So it's not very intensive. You only simulate that attackers are likely to be attracted to. Then you can have many of these. It's very scalable. So something that point to ponder going forward. Lastly, quantum computing. That's something that we cannot ignore. The net impact of quantum computing is likely going to weaken of encryption schemes that we currently have that protect data. So we need to start to look at quantum secure. There are several quantum secure technologies that's increasingly being looked at. The BIS, for example, which is an organization, is looking into setting a standards of encryption that are in a lot of minds quantum resistant or quantum secure. The most promising schemes are believed to be those that are based on mathematics of lattices, which are multidimensional and repeating grids or points. So this scheme depends on how hard it is to find information that's hidden in lattice with hundreds of spatial dimensions. So that's something that we need to take a look at. So our normal RSA encryption, our PKI and elliptic curve cryptography is probably at risk and will probably be obsolete between 5 to 10 years. That's something that we need to be focused about. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. I hope you found something useful. So you can send me at above email address. I never give my Benegara email because I'm on an assumed breach basis. Just a disclaimer that whatever that I mention is my personal opinion. They don't replace professional judgment. And unless expressly stated to the contrary, these are not the opinion or position of my employer. My employer does not endorse, approve, or assume any responsibility of this content. So thank you very much for your attention. So I leave it to the committee for the next session. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, AG Nasrul. You are using AOL. Wow, very interesting. Please remain on stage, sorry. Okay. Plus upon Cik Tazrizi to give some token explanation. Switch. 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 Okay. Please also remain on stage. We have a lucky draw session. Sorry? Okay, we're going to have our first round of lucky draw session. Who's the lucky ball? Okay. Okay. Start at 3. Dia auto. Okay, siapa tu? Ahmad Zaidi Said. Zaidi, mana Zaidi?
Kalau tak ada,
Okey, tak ada lah tu. Mana Zaidi tak ada. Okey lah. Tak ada. Going once. Zaidi, going once. Okey, bagus. Alhamdulillah. Ada pergi toilet dah? Jap. Tak ada. Okay, next. Okay. Muhammad Faiz, Muhammad Zaki. Okay. This lucky draw is sponsored by that one. Not sure. Tak tahu. That one. Thank you that one for the sponsor, for the gift. Sekejap, switch. Ni, switch. Oh, kali Okay, dah mana? Okay, tak apa. Okay. Ada lagi 2 ke? Lagi 1? 1 ke 2? Okay, another one. Another one. Mana? Sam, where are you, Sam? Sam, where are you, Sam? Where are you, Sam? Sam tak ada. Tak ada. Mana Sam? Come on, Sam. Sam tak ada. Going once. Going twice. Mana Sam? Sam tak ada. Okay, Sol. Sol Sam. Ambil gambar jap. Ambil gambar Sam menang. Ambil gambar Sam menang. Okay. Please come in front. Ni siapa? Okay. Sama juga sponsored by Dewan. Okay, terima kasih Eji Nazrul memberi hadiah kepada pemenang lelaki doa kita. Fatah, ready? Slide tak ada. Tapi you have to speak something. Okay, pada hari Rabu yang lepas kita melaksanakan satu CTF competition. We just recently completed our CTF competition. We call it RAWSEC Minicon CTF Challenge 2020. It's a 24 hours challenge. It's a closed event only for the participants of this Minicon. Yang masuk competition CTF ni adalah Sam. Sorry Sam, dia lambat. dapat masuk competition CTF tu. Saya bagi Tuan Fatah lah untuk bercakap.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jadi RAWSEC dan CTF which is kita launch pada hari Rabu yang lepas, which is at first kita nak buka pada 12 malam, then extend kita postpone pada 12 hari, and then dia punya competition tu ambil selama 24 jam, dan competition ni kita nak tengok dari segi technical skill, which is banyak domain. Kita nak tengok dari segi reverse engineering kan, which is itu ada keperluan dalam kerjaya untuk buat malware analysis kan, dan kriteria adalah ada domain is okay. So seperti yang Mantarizi bagi tahu, ada ramai yang registered, dan yang actively participate adalah banyak 75 orang, dan at first mula kita buka sebanyak 17 challenge kan, pelbagai kategori, tapi end up ada beberapa orang ni kira dia dapat full mark, and then sampai kita terpaksa buka tambah lagi 4 lagi challenge. Dan bila kita buka pagi challenge pun masih lagi full mark. Jadi bila kita tengok tu dasar pada kita punya komunikasi dengan kawan, mengejar ada satu hadiah yang special. So ada yang fokus kepada hadiah nombor 2 kan. Ada yang tak nak fokus pada hadiah nombor 1 kan. Jadi kita sebenarnya nak tengok juga kan, student punya participant, nak tengok diorang punya pencapaian technical kan. Tapi dalam masa rupanya memang ada orang-orang lama lah yang join. So nampaklah muka-muka pemenang ni kan. So yang pertama basic adalah dari segi understanding of basic security knowledge, which is sebenarnya mudah aja. Kita suruh dia amplify, hashkan string, lepas tu submit jawapan. Memang sangat mudah lah. And then yang kedua, dalam basic knowledge tu kita bagi satu hash, which is kita suruh dia reverse hash, tapi sebenarnya dia one way hash je, dia tak boleh reverse hash. So kita nak dia ada kefahaman yang pasal konsep one way hashing kan. And then kedua kita bagi kategori web, which is kita sediakan dalam 4 soalan mengenai web, ada SQL injection, ada off by slash, vulnerability, dan juga yang berkaitan lah. Dan sekiranya kalau dia follow web security punya trend, Tengok berdasarkan kepada signature dia tahu kan. So di Nginx expose to some list of vulnerability dan dia kena test lah, ada vulnerability 1 demi 1 kan. And then on the reverse engineering yang saya bagi tadi, benda ni perlu di dalam malware analysis kan. So macam contoh bila kita keluarkan senarai mana yang dapat jawab soalan reverse engineering, mungkin ada some of industry boleh tengok kan, ada some of student ada capability boleh buat benda tu kan. Seterusnya war games ni dia konsep kreatif. Kita mula masuk tu dia kena buat socket programming sikit kan. So bila dia masuk dia kena add up dua integer which is dia kena convert pada format. And bila dapat masuk, lepas tu dia escalate diri sendiri kepada level 2 and then dia escalate, dia try to exploit using contoh buffer overflow and then format string sampai dia dapat kita buat sampai level 4 dia setakat ni kan. Steganografi which is dia perlu mendapatkan ada some secret message lah kat dalam gambar lah actually yang kita bagi. Yang terakhir adalah dia punya knowledge dari protokol juga USB protokol which is on USB tu sebenarnya saya transfer file je, file txt and then dia kena capture that file then dia dapat table up apa, dapat dia punya text tu then dia convert pada flag dan dia jawab lah. So soalan kita sediakan ni kita bagi username dan password dan bila access dia akan klik, dia akan soalan dia dan dia kena jawab berdasarkan pada soalan tu. Screennya betul lah. So setakat ni kita bagi semua markah 3 setiap satu soalan kan. Tak ada level difficulty lagi kat sini. So at first kita nampak ada orang-orang baru lah jawab. In the end kebanyakannya orang-orang lama basically yang dapat pertama kan, dia tapau habis sampai habis masa. Even bila kita buka 4 soalan pun diorang ni masing-masing compete untuk dapat nombor 2 actually. Okay, so ni ada taburan lah berdasarkan kepada soalan-soalan yang kita bagi dan yang dapat jawab soalan basic ni hampir semua lah boleh jawab. And then Stegano second, and then PCAP dan yang paling susah tu Wagib level 4 dan yang second last is reverse engineering level 4. Okay, so ni adalah senarai tempat yang pertama, tempat kedua, tempat ketiga dan juga sehingga kepada 15 akan pilih pemenang tu berdasarkan 3 tempat yang pertama lah. So tempat yang pertama which is my favorite. So saya sendiri pun more or less tak berapa kenal sangat, tapi saya rasa orang yang dekat sini saya kenal dia, my favorite. And then second HK and then SOSIS. So kita jemput nombor 3. So nak announce. Okay, so kita akan panggil, kita tak tahu siapa SOSIS ni pasal dia ikut serta ni, dia sistem ni dia boleh tukar dia punya ID dia, jadi kita tak dapat nak track. Jadi tempat yang ketiga jatuh kepada SOSIS. So siapa SOSIS kat sini? Sila naik ke atas lah. Kena ada orang mengaku lah.
Okay, tempat ketiga adalah hoodie RAWSEC.
Okay, tahniah. Okey, jadi tempat kedua adalah HK. Siapa HK?
HK ataupun wakil HK. HK kat luar ni, tapi tak nak masuk kot. Wakil HK? HK-nya wakil ada siapa tak? Ada siapa nak jadi wakil HK? Tadi dekat luar.
So ada yang kata HK ni Hafiz Kamal kan. Jadi nanti kita
Pasal
akan
kita
paskan.
disclose HK tu saya Hafiz Kamal, sorry. Hafiz Kamal, mana dia? Daripada RAWSEC. Ada. Tak apa, kita go. Tempat kedua saya basically adalah hadiah daripada okey okeylah, bolehlah. Wakil daripada RAWSEC. Come. Hadiahnya adalah berbentuk 3 bilah pisau Victorinox yang bernilai, aku tak pasti berapa harga dia. Made in Switzerland. Okay, thank you.
Okey, tempat yang pertama adalah My Farid. Tahniah. Orang yang pertama dapat jawab full mark.
Okey, tempat pertama satu Lenovo Tab M7 yang disponsor oleh Sekitar by Pernek.
Okey, itu je. Terima kasih.